Hi everyone, and welcome to this Facebook Live at OrthoCarolina's Athletic Training Center. Today we are here with Chris Gabriel, and he is going to show us some dynamic running exercises to help you train for the OrthoCarolina 10K Classic or Around the Crown 10K. So Chris, if you could talk us through about why dynamic exercises and stretches are important, and then you are going to help us view some.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. One thing I want to talk about today is, even though running is an explosive activity or a contact sport, it is really important that we warm our bodies up and prepare for the demands of running. Sometimes just getting out there and walking a little bit isn't enough. So the days of static, prolonged, passive stretching are kind of gone. They don't really improve performance and actually can be detrimental to your performance to do passive, static stretching beforehand. What we want to do is a dynamic type of stretching to prepare our muscles, to activate our core, to get us ready to get out there and run and perform our best and minimize the injury risk. I have Sean here with us today, and he's going to demonstrate some of these exercises for us, and hopefully you'll buy into a few of these to incorporate it into your pre-running routine. So first of all, we're going to start off with just a couple basic things you can do to get the body warmed up and prepared for running. First, what we're going to do is just a basic skip. So Sean, what we're going to do is work on getting your arms 90-90, and we're just going to do a nice light skip. Keep those elbows bent. Nice and light, get a little bounce. This helps us work on more of a mid-foot strike pattern, force absorption, all that good stuff. All right, very good. Now we'll go face me, Sean. We're going to do a side shuffle. Just back and forth just like this. Running is a very front to back activity, a very sagittal plane activity, so we can get our runners doing some stuff sideways. It really helps activate those hip muscles. The next thing we'll do is a karaoke, getting a little more dynamic, getting some rotation from your upper body and your lower body. Very nice. All right, the next thing we want to do is get those hips moving a little bit. So what we'll do is, I call this an in-out hip flip. So Sean, what we want to do is rotate your hips this way and tap your ankle with your opposite hand. So this is working into hip external rotation. And then we switch around, do the other direction. We're going to do hip internal rotation. Try to keep your knees together and rotate out. So this works hip internal rotation. So we've gotten a little blood flow, a little mobility into those hip rotators before we run. All right, now we're going to do an exercise, a dynamic hamstring stretch combined with a balance component. So I call this a retro hamstring walk. You'll hear this called airplane sometimes. You're just going to turn around, face backwards, and balance just like this, and lay out nice and flat. Keys to this, we want to see a nice straight back, flat back position, getting into some hip extension, lean down and pause for a second. So again, great for balance, a little bit of stability, and also you'll feel a dynamic hamstring stretch on that front leg. Looks good. All right, the next thing we want to do is think about stretching the anterior, kind of hip flexors and quads. So with this one, we'll do a retro lunge with an overhead reach. So basically we're going to get into this position, kind of do a small backward lunge and reach overhead, getting some extension there. I usually cue my athletes to keep their core and abdomen engaged so we don't get too much lumbar hyperextension, but this will get a nice little gentle stretch to the quads and hip flexors. Very good, nice and slow, and again, we get a little balance component as well on that. Nice way to stretch out quads and hip flexors. Next thing we'll talk about is leg swings. This is something we see commonly done. Let's come on over here.
Okay.
And for this today, we're going to use a balance pad just to help Sean clear his leg and also provide a little extra core stability and balance. So what we want to do is, I usually have them rest a hand on a wall or a post or something like that. Keep the core engaged so we don't get too much motion from the spine, and we're just going to work on swinging that leg back and forth nice and slow.
Do you have to have a balance pad to do this?
You do not. You can do this standing on the ground. You just need to make sure you clear the leg. It's definitely nice. The balance pad, it does challenge that balance a little more, but you definitely do not need that. And then as time goes on, we work on going a little faster and a little bigger with that swing. And, again, lots of nice mobility work for the hip there. So that's the front to back leg swing, and the next thing we'll do is a side to side leg swing. So we'll get there. Again, stand and balance, light hand hold, and then we're going to swing that leg side to side. So what I look for is to try to keep the core engaged. I want him to look fairly stable here, and then we want to see some nice mobility of the hip. Try to let that leg nice and relaxed, Sean. we always want to talk about proximal stability. We want a nice stable core and hip structure, and then distal mobility to get mobility in that hip to loosen it up so he can absorb the forces and produce the forces he needs to run successfully, especially over the long term.
Right.
All right, man, feel good? Yeah. All right. Another one for balance as well as some dynamic mobility. We're going to stand on one leg, balance. We do a balance reach, slowly hinge down like you're going to touch the ground. Come on up. We're going to right the ship, then we're going to lean, do a little side kick out to the side. Good. Back and forth. So we get a little dynamic hamstring stretch going down. We're working on stability and balance, and we're getting a little mobility work out of that hip. One of the cues I give with this, I ask the runner to keep their big toe down so we maintain that arch. We don't want that arch falling down and their knee buckling kind of into a valgus moment.
Right.
So this is a really good way to kind of cue and prime their neuromuscular system before the run so that they can control that mobility when they're during their run. And I just do a couple sets of 10 or maybe even one set of 10 on each side. We want to keep this light, fun, easy. We don't want to over fatigue the athlete before they run.
Right.
Just kind of prime the system for some higher level activities.
Right. Sounds about right.
Dorsiflexion mobility, the ankle movement is really important to our runners and all of our athletes. So I don't do a lot of passive calf stretching before the athletes run, but I do like to do this knee to the wall mobility for the ankle and the calf. So come on over here, Sean. And what I want you to do is get your foot kind of near the wall, and we'll get this on video. We want to keep this foot nice and straight. What you don't want to do is turn this ankle out to the side at all. We want to keep it in nice and straight. And then what we want to do is shift his weight forward and take that knee out to where it kisses the wall, just to where it touches the wall. And I'm looking to make sure his heel stays down all the time. Okay, so just back and forth. And then if he can keep his heel down, I'll ask him to just move back about an inch or so and see if he can go forward, keeping that knee down. So this is really good for mobility of his ankle joint. It also provides some dynamic mobility and flexibility work for his calf muscle. And it's also very easy and safe on the body. Doesn't put a lot of stress before his run. So what we do is try to get him out as far as he can, and I'll do maybe 20 reps on each side just to get a little mobility work in that calf. We would like people to have enough mobility to where they can have their foot out about 4 inches from the wall before we do that. So Sean shows a pretty good amount of mobility there. You'll be surprised how some people can't even get out from the wall
right.
at all before their heel
I can
starts
imagine.
coming up.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very, very restricted, and they might even have some mobility deficit side to side, some asymmetry we want to work to clean out. So you can tell he looks like he might even be a little stiffer on that side. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely a little stiffer on this side.
Okay. All right. We'll finish up just one more exercise here. What we'll kind of do is do a quad block. We're going to step, we're going to pull the quad, and reach to the other side. It's a really good mobility drill for the quad hip flexors. Again, we're walking, being dynamic, so we have some balance and stability component. So this is really good to stretch out those quads and hip flexors, especially for those of us that spend all day sitting in an office and run on our lunch break.
Yes.
So if we can get a few of these exercises in, even if you're just picking a few that you think are most important for you, I think it's a lot more beneficial than just getting out there and trying to run cold or even just walking a little bit. But I think those hits the highlights of what we really want to focus on with our runners. And I think that's going to be a really good warm-up program. Hopefully we've given you some good ideas today.
Oh, you absolutely did. And if our viewers want to find out more about these exercises, please head to OrthoCarolina.com. We'll be sharing running content and running tips throughout the summer. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.